People move abroad for all kinds of reasons, for love, for work, for a new start, and so many more. And a sentiment that I often see among those of us who have moved abroad is that it's incredibly freeing. Have you ever wondered if living abroad really is freeing? Is it something that sets you free? It's something that I've thought a lot about over the years, and it's exactly what we're talking about in today's video. Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Diane, this is We in France, welcome back. And there's something powerful about starting over in a place where no one knows your name. But living abroad, it's not just about changing scenery, it's about changing your perspective, what's going on up here. I also think it's about discovering what happens when you step outside of everything familiar and you realize that at the end of the day, you're still okay. All of this takes time, but it's 100% been worth it in my experience. Now, over the years, I've thought a lot about what it means to be free. And don't worry, this isn't about politics or anything like that. But I think because in life, we can become dependent on so many things that make us feel tied down. These things make us feel anything but free. And while living abroad does feel freeing to me in a lot of ways, it could be the exact opposite for someone who feels more constrained by their work, their life stress, their commitments, more so abroad than they did at home. So it's not always freeing. And I'd like to acknowledge that you can feel free by making a move or making a change within yourself much closer to home. You don't need to move abroad to another country to experience what I'm talking about here. A move within your own state or even your own country might bring about the same types of feelings. But first, for something to be freeing, we have to talk about the flip side, about what we feel held down by. What is it that we want to be free of? And does moving abroad allow us to just magically feel free of judgment in and of itself, to feel free of a stagnant career, of expectations, of our old ways of thinking and responsibility? I'm not sure. And what is the opposite of feeling free? And how do so many of us get to that boxed in, uninspired place? Can living abroad feel freeing to us in certain areas of our life and maybe less so in others? Is it freeing professionally, creatively, romantically, spiritually, all of the above, none of the above? I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I want to continue on with this conversation and just kind of start the topic down below in the comments because I think it's an important one. And I know for me personally, there are some reasons why over the years living abroad has felt freeing. So let's kick this off with number one, and it is a big one. You have no history at all with a place. You're completely unknown. You don't have anyone who knew you as a kid, as a teenager, in college, or at your old job, or the old you, right? You don't have anyone that knows about the things that you've done or haven't done. No one has history with your family, and this is both good and bad. On the good side, you do have a clean slate to start fresh and present yourself however you'd like, with no baggage and no past getting in the way. And you could feel like you're kind of regaining control of your life. We'll talk more about that in a sec. Because when you live abroad, you get to redefine yourself. And sometimes this happens without you even realizing it because no one here knows who you were before. If you think about it, there are no expectations, no lifelong friends or family kind of watching your every move, no cultural shoulds shaping your identity, at least not ones that you're familiar with yet. You're not the nerd or the quiet one or the annoying one in your family. No one knows you, so clean slate. I felt that almost immediately after moving to France. I could be whoever I wanted to be. I could dress differently, look different, be quieter, be louder, not too loud. But I could do whatever I wanted and even try things that felt cringy back home. That space to just be is weirdly liberating, and you start to ask yourself, who am I when no one knows who I used to be? And I think there's a lot of freedom in that. All right, number two, fewer obligations. Now, if you don't have a large network of friends and family abroad or a professional network, you have fewer things in most cases that you feel obligated to do. So maybe you're less stressed because you don't have to go to your cousin's birthday party on Saturday and your new nephew's baptism on Sunday and that volunteer thing you signed up with your church 100 times and all these other commitments that maybe you kind of want to do, but at the same time, they could get so overwhelming. You're in a new place, you don't have any of that, and there's nothing to weigh you down. And life from the beginning, whether you choose to keep it that way or not is up to you, but life becomes more about choice. You do what you feel like doing, maybe you're more spontaneous, and that sense of not feeling like bogged down, it's really freeing. You feel lighter when you don't have to show up for anyone but yourself. Now, of course, I think there's a healthy balance. There always is between doing things for others and prioritizing your own needs. But if you're like me and you have trouble saying no to people because you feel guilty and all that stuff, that first bit of time after you move abroad can be so calming when you don't have anyone to go and see or anywhere that you have to be. Just be calm. And living abroad, it's allowed me to do a lot more personal reflection, which is something I never made a ton of time for back in New York City. I was always busy. And, even though my sweet dog Dagny has passed away, I still go on 2 daily walks a day in the park. And now I use that time to just be still, to reflect, to think about things, just use that as a little mental refresh. And it's done a world of good. All right, number 3, foreigners get a pass. Now, if we make a bunch of mistakes, like language mistakes or cultural faux pas, it's okay because it's clear from the moment that we open our mouth that we were not born here and we just don't know yet. We don't know everything about a place. I still don't. I don't know everything about French culture or the language. And there's no pressure to be perfect, either self-imposed or otherwise, when you're an outsider. There are just no expectations of what you should do or what you shouldn't do, because most people don't know your native culture. They don't know your native language in the way that you do. They don't even know you inside and out. So cultural faux pas are normal, they're expected, and these days I just roll with it. And when I do make a mistake, and when I've made ones in the early days, big ones that I've talked about on this channel, I just feel less pressure to do things right as a foreigner because I'm not a native. And it's freeing to know that you kind of have that leeway as a newcomer. All right, next, number 4, the mental shift where you can let go of control. And some of us out there, like myself, I would like to refer to myself as a recovering type A. We find a lot of freedom in just going with the flow and not always having to be on now. It's a major shift. And there's freedom in not knowing everything and not having to always have everything under control. Living abroad, it constantly puts you in situations where you're not in control. So that's a fun exercise. It was so uncomfortable for me. And in all honesty, it still can be. Just think about all the ways that you are not in control and you are not comfortable in your home environment, at least not at the beginning. Think about all the ways you're not uncomfortable at home and then multiply that by about 100 times when you're abroad. It could be unsettling as hell, but it is good for you. So just to give you examples, you don't know the customs. You don't know how things are done at restaurants. You don't know where anything is. You don't even know how to say the street names right. The right words, they might not come to you. And, instead of fighting all that, at some point you surrender and you become okay with not being the expert, with not having everything under control and being the person that everyone goes to for help. You're cool with getting the words wrong. You laugh about things more. And that surrender, it brings you another kind of freedom. Freedom from the pressure, the constant need to get everything right and always being put together and on your A game. And I love that. All right, moving on, just the lifestyle change. Many of us, we move abroad and we experience a major lifestyle change in the process. Maybe we've gone from city life to country life or the reverse. We might trade in one high-powered job for a more relaxed job. Some people might take one high-powered job in a big city and move to Paris and do the same high-powered job, just in a different culture, with the same stresses and challenges. But, a majority of us do trade in a busy life for one that's slower paced or just differently paced. And what's inherent in a lifestyle change, at least I hope so, is that it becomes better. Your life abroad becomes better in some way, easier to manage, maybe with more free time, less stress, maybe better nutrition, better exercise habits, a new career, or just whatever better looks like to you. Feeling like you've improved your life in some way, I feel like that is incredibly freeing. I'll give you another example. Just the fact that employees in France get 5 paid weeks of vacation time each year that they're expected to use, not as a perk of working for a good employee, but nationwide for everyone. That's a game changer in and of itself. And when your whole life becomes different and you're free of your old routine and all the ways of thinking that come with that, it is freeing. It is freeing to feel not so mentally locked in to what you've done over the years, and instead you're forced to try new things. The way you communicate, the way you go about your day is different, your routine is different, and you encounter new people and new places around you. And when most people think about moving abroad, they might picture that perfect movie montage life, something cliched, right? Like waking up late, sipping espresso in a cafe with perfect weather for hours, perfect lighting, learning a charming new language that's just so easy to pick up, and riding a vintage bike. You'll pass vineyards on your way home. And that's certainly a lifestyle change. And don't get me wrong, some of those things are true, and it does feel like that. But that kind of feels more like a fairy tale, or at least a vacation or retirement. And most of the time, those picture perfect things that are all cliched, that's not what our life abroad looks like day in and day out. So the bigger freedom is not any of those things. It's about so much more. It's not aesthetic. It's emotional. It's mental. And sometimes it could even be spiritual. You'll have to tell me in the comments if you've had any type of spiritual awakening while abroad. It's the freedom that comes from breaking out of what's expected and then seeing yourself in this new light. It's up here. And I've learned I am so much stronger, so much more resilient than I thought. Was it something that came about when I was abroad, or was it always a part of me waiting to be discovered? I have no idea, but I know that living abroad has shaped me into a better version of myself across the board, and I thank you, France. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the flip side, because there always is one. Now, freedom, it doesn't always feel good in the moment. These kind of revelations and this growth, it doesn't always feel good. There are lonely days. There are days when you just miss the ease of your old life, the ease of understanding. Days when you just want someone to get your references without having to explain, or days when you don't want to be searching for your words, and then there's regular life frustrations, homesickness, times when you're doubting yourself, and maybe even that decision to move abroad in the first place. But that's all part of the game, and you will get through it to the other side, just like I did in the early days. And something else I want to mention is that one of the biggest surprises for me was how much intentionality it takes to build a life abroad. You have to build your routines. You have to build that sense of home. You have to build community. And that could be a slow process. But once you do, it could be empowering, and because your life isn't handed to you on a silver platter, you've made it. You've done it yourself. And when you've built your life from scratch, from the ground up, remember that blank slate we talked about? When it's done in a place that wasn't made for you, it's not your original home. It's this freedom and this sense of accomplishment you get, because that's all you. You can be proud of yourself for doing that. And this intentional aspect, I think it's a nuance that people don't always talk about enough. Yeah, sure, living abroad is freeing, but it's also active. It's a choice you make, and every day you work toward it. It asks something of you. It's not just a vacation or an escape where you passively participate. You have to care. You have to adapt. And weirdly enough, it's through that effort, that daily effort and the daily discomforts, the small wins, the humbling mistakes, that you start to feel lighter and more flexible and more open, and maybe even like a new, freer version of yourself. And even now, after a decade plus abroad, I can't help but feel continually inspired by all the ways my life has taken me outside of my comfort zone, into newness, and I'm laughing because it hasn't been easy. But that inspiration, it sparks creativity. The hard times make you appreciate the good ones, and just having a mental escape can be really, really good. So, is living abroad freeing? Yes, but not because everything's easier. Far from it. It's freeing because you grow, because you break out of old mold, because you stop living on autopilot and you start living with intention, or at least that's been the case for me. And with that, I just want to turn it over to you down in the comments. Take it down below. Tell me what you think. Is this something you've thought about before? Does it hold true for you? Do you feel like a move abroad has been freeing in any ways? Maybe you agree and can identify with some of what I've mentioned, maybe not, or maybe you have some other ones. So talk to me below in the comments. I also want to mention I am so close to 100K subscribers here on this channel. It's a huge milestone for YouTubers. I get a silver play button plaque that I'm going to put on the wall here, and it's going to feel so good. So if you can help me be a part of that, make all these blood, sweat, and tears over the years worth it, just hit that subscribe button. It's easy. If you watch my channel and you enjoy what I do, you've been here a while, just hit the subscribe. It's free. To subscribe is free. So if you enjoy what I do here, hit that subscribe and we'll hit that 100K together. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you right back here on We in France soon. Salut!